Journalist Andy Ngo was attacked recently by a group calling themselves anti-fascist demonstrators. This happened in Portland, Oregon. Ngo suffered a brain hemorrhage in the incident. In the weeks since, everyone from House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy on the right to Vice President Joe Biden on the left have been talking about Andy Ngo. Andy is an editor at The Quillette. He joins us now to talk about that. Andy, welcome to The Issue Is.
Thank you for having me on.
The first question is, how are you feeling?
Better than before. You can see on my face that the bruising and swelling has gone down a lot. I'm just focused on the next step of recovery because I was been dealing with the brain injury.
And then that's a look at some of the initial injuries from that incident itself. So take us back to that day. There's this protest happening. Antifa organizers are doing it. You've covered them many times before. You thought about wearing a helmet and then said, I'm not going to wear a helmet because I don't want to draw attention to myself. You're in there, the protest is happening, you got a GoPro. What happens?
This was on the 29th of June. Portland has had numerous riots since 2016, particularly from radical left-wing activists and left-wing militants. On the 29th, I came there to document it, as I have done many other ones. When we were in the heart of downtown, steps away from the Central Police Precinct, the Sheriff's Office, in the middle of the day, this mob felt emboldened to attack me, and it was completely unprovoked on my part. It was the first contact was to the back of my head, very hard. I've never been in a fight. Took me a few seconds to realize I was even hit. I didn't know really what had happened, and before I could center myself again to the ground, the punches kept coming from every direction, to my head, to my face, and their hands these weren't just bare fists hitting me. These people who were dressed head to toe in black and masks were wearing tactical gloves that have fiberglass material on the knuckles. So the video that's now gone viral that you just played is the second half of the beating, so there was actually quite a bit more. They ripped my earlobe during that attack. I was bleeding, I was dazed, and when I thought they were done, then the other people who were cheering them on started pelting me with eggs, objects, milkshakes, right in the face, to the head, so I couldn't even see which way to leave. And throughout all this, I kept thinking, where are the police? And
where were they?
They weren't there, and they never intervened at any point.
Did anybody try to help?
I see now in the video that there were some people who were attempting to move themselves in front of me, but they were unsuccessful. I don't know who those people were. What I saw and remember was a mob beating, and as I was walking away, they were laughing, and somebody said, I got owned, and they laughed.
And you had covered them before. You think that you were targeted because of that?
Oh, most definitely. What had happened is weeks before this demonstration, Rose City Antifa had put out a post naming me and rallying for people to come, promising physical confrontation. That was the word they used. So Portland police and authorities were aware that they were planning and premeditating violence. My question over and over is, why does the Portland police not intervene? Because this was not the first time. There were other people who were seriously injured that day, and going months back as well.
So these people call themselves anti-fascists. We have seen them many times in California. We've been out covering them. Some of them have been nice to the media. Some of them have been very nasty to the media, me included, and some of our reporters included as well, in a way you don't often see. You have seen sort of an outpouring of support, not only from those on the right, really been adopted by those on the right, but some on the left as well. When you hear Joe Biden, other people coming to your defense, what goes through your mind?
I have a lot of gratitude. I think some people have asked me, are you upset that not more Democrats have come out? I'm not. I know it's unfortunate that some have turned this into a partisan issue when it's not. It's the beating of me is an attack on not just free speech, but freedom of the press. At the same time, what's been deafening is the silence of the mayor in Portland and those on city council, which I have not heard from.
So would you go back? Would you cover more Antifa events? Was this worth it for you to do this?
It's not worth it to suffer a brain bleed. However, what I've been focusing on since the attack is continuing to speak out, as difficult as it is, because I want the public to face the brutality of this movement. I never call them anti-fascists. I don't give them that propaganda win. Their tactics violence is a feature of their movement. It's not a bug, and they're agitating for political revolution. So people need to recognize how dangerous this group of people calling themselves Antifa are.
You've been described a lot in a lot of the media as a conservative journalist. I know you don't like that label. You prefer not to have labels. But I'm interested in your background because you're Vietnamese, you're openly gay. How would you describe your political worldview?
So I'll borrow some of the language from the progressives. My lived experience informs a lot of how I cover Antifa in the columns that I write, in the features. My parents were refugees to the United States from Vietnam, and they have actually lived through a Marxist revolution. So these masked individuals who are not just street hooligans, they actually have a coherent ideology and a political agenda that they're working towards. Most of them, I would say actually all of them, are middle class white people who have no idea what it's like to actually live through a communist revolution. My parents did. They suffered political persecution. My father was sent to re-education camp, my mother labor camp when they were very young. And so that type of trauma was something that they passed on to their children, my sister and I. And that informs my coverage of far-left militant movements.
So what do you want people to take away from your story? Because some people in your situation may not be speaking out now, because in some ways it's putting more of a target on your back, potentially with these people. But you find it important to speak out on shows like this. What is your main message?
Well, this is not just a story of one journalist getting beaten. It's a warning. Portland is a harbinger and a warning to cities across this country of what happens when, for political reasons, politicians are handcuffing police and turning a blind eye to far-left militancy. There's been a lot of attention focused rightfully in recent years on the far right, but there's a blind spot in most people in mainstream media and in the eyes of most people when it comes to extremism, violent extremism on the far left.
And you're trying to get that message out. So,
Absolutely.
so you're going to continue to write, but you say next time maybe bring some security with you?
Yes, I can no longer be naive enough to think that Portland police will actually enforce the law.
Well, we're sorry that you're suffering, but we're grateful that you're speaking out. We're glad that you came on the show today. And I know you probably haven't had a lot of time to smile or to have joy in the last month or so, but you know, we do like to play some music on this show. So we asked you for your music choice. I was surprised by it. It's the Carpenters. Why the Carpenters?
That was music that my mother liked before 1975. After the communist reunification of Vietnam, Western music, pop music was banned. And so this music was taken away from my mother when she finally found political refuge in the United States. This was music that she played for my sister and I.
So it has a lot of meaning.
Absolutely.
On the Carpenter song. Well, thank you so much for joining us on The Issue Is. I'm glad we could bring you some music as well. Andy, no.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks so much.